Not sure where Steve
won't
is,
make
and
it.
he's
He
not
says
gonna,
he's got corporate people in town, so he's.
okay, so we won't have, and then Dave should be here a little later. So I'm gonna go ahead at, we'll call it 6:36, call the meeting to order. And I did finally, I managed to get some minutes, so I got the minutes from last meeting. I'll go ahead give everybody a second to look at that if they haven't got a copy. We have of the minutes from last month. Or, I think I got everything. Anybody sees any corrections or omissions from last month, please let me know. Okay, if, give a couple seconds more. Entertain a motion to approve the meeting's minutes as presented from June 4th of 2024. And for the record, under rule, you didn't have to be to the meeting to make the motion.
I'll make that motion then.
I'll second.
Okay.
You're not, so we're not on the committee.
Yeah, it has to be these two here.
Yeah,
I second.
we're just bystanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, item number one, or item number two in this case, public comment. Give a chance for the public to make any comments they might have. Seeing none, I think I'm gonna go ahead and close the public comment section and move on to our favorite subject. Broad Hollow Well Project update. I go ahead and turn the time over to Ted on this one.
Sweet, we're about 96.8% designed.
Wow, that's specific.
You like, you like,
It's that last 0.4 that's all.
yeah, you know how it is. That's the easy part. It's the last 3.2% that takes all the time. Yeah, so they were just, they have pretty much the design done. We were just kind of going back and forth. If you guys are not aware, when that well house was built, being built by Corbett, he put some steel tanks in the basement. The plan was to have diesel fuel. There's 7 or 8 500-gallon tanks down there. The plan was to store diesel fuel up there. 1, to use for the backup generator, and 2, to go fill up our city vehicles with that use diesel. I don't know that was the, Mark's got something to say, but
No, go ahead. I'll let you finish. You're there.
it was great in theory, but it poses a lot of challenges. These tanks sit down underneath in the basement of well house in a vault, so to speak. So as we were looking to try and figure out how to use those in our current project, so there's a generator that sits up on the main level in kind of an enclosure outside the building. These tanks sit in the building down kind of a basement vault area. So we have to get it from those tanks, and there's 7 or 8 or 9 tanks, and they're not connected together. To get it from there up to a day tank at the generator, and then feed the generator. They came up with a design to make that work, which is not bad. I mean, it's the best they can do with the design, with what they have, with what we've got. It basically means you have to stick a rod that's connected to the pump. There'll have to be a pump mounted down there. And then there's a, so to speak, an intake rod for the pump that sticks down in the tank. So it sucks it in, then it'll pump it up to the day tank, which will then feed the generator. And then they ran a pipe up above the ground, so you don't have to go down in the vault to fill the tank back up. Problem is you only do one tank at a time, so because they're not connected together. So you have to, like, if you need to switch tanks, you've got to go down and manually take that rod out, unscrew it, take it out, move it to the next tank, screw it back in. And there's really only 2 tanks that can be used. So And then we're never sure. I mean, it's just going to be a guess on when it goes empty. I mean, there's no level sensor to tell you when the tank's out of gas or anything like that. So it's the best you can do with what's there. We talked about putting a level sensor on it. There may be a way to do that. So we're just investigating that. See if we can get a level sensor on it, at least so we can tie it to the SCADA and be able to tell when the tank's going empty. The other option we talked about was just kind of scrapping that whole area and putting a brand new 1,000-gallon tank in outside. Steel, it's made, the company that they've been working with makes these, and you just install them outside, and then you just hook a pump to it into the day tank right next to the tank. So you're just right there. Then when you have to fill the tank, you pull the truck right up to the tank and fill it up. It's more convenient, just it'll cost more money to the project.
How much more?
So Ted, would we sell those 7 to 9 tanks that we have in the basement and use that to buy this new tank that would be on the main level?
We could sell those, yeah. We could get rid of them and
I think the tanks were salvage tanks that he picked up from someplace.
yeah, I don't think we'd get a lot for them. Not near enough to pay for the other tank.
Yeah,
but-
so, and,
Oh.
getting them out would probably be more work, because I helped him put them in. Taking them out would probably be more work than be more cost than the value of the tanks, to be quite honest.
Okay, so how
Uh,
much is the new tank?
I don't know because I told them, let's just go ahead with what they've designed for
Okay.
now. And then as we get moving, and part of the reason is because if we go a different direction, we're going to have to pause on the project while they kind of redesign that system. And then they'll want, it's going to be additional engineering cost to redesign it. So
Mhm.
what I talked to them about, I said, maybe we just go forward with what you got. And then when the contractor has a supplier on board, maybe we can work directly with them and start maybe looking at, is there a better way to do this that makes sense? And then we would just have to add it into the project after the fact. It also won't slow us down so we can get out to bid. My interest is getting it out to bid so we have the thing ready to go. And if we have to make some changes during construction, we can do that at that time. Now, change order money is a little more than bid money, but if you know the construction bidding world, but still, I don't think it's gonna be that much more here.
To get this moving.
Couple
Keep
of
things moving, yeah.
comments on that I might have if you're done. As one, as Ted pointed out, there's, I think, 7 tanks that are just sitting around inside the basement of the well house. My biggest concern is using them as a fuel storage tank for our city vehicles, running back up however many times we need to fill them, especially in the winter when you can get up the hill. And we've got this potential spill. I mean, there's spill protection in there. He's put a double wall filter in there. But I'm just not a big fan of putting 1,000+ gallons of fuel over the top of our water source. That's just me.
Well, and we'll have to, even if we get rid of those tanks to do something else, we'll still have the fuel there.
Right, we would still have, but we can go with one tank, whether it be 1,000 or 15, whatever the
Right.
case might be, double wall, designed for.
Right.
that
Better
type of stuff.
Designed for that
Yeah,
purpose,
And honestly, it's not a really complicated process. I really don't see why, if we were to get another tank in, it would even need to be engineered. I mean, we could just. get
No,
a
you can
vendor
just buy
done.
them. So
Yeah.
they've been working with a company called West Tech.
Yeah.
You've heard of
Right,
them,
I've heard
and
West
they
Tech.
built a lot of prefab water treatment systems and all that kind of stuff. That's who they've been working. And they said they got a 1,000-gallon fuel tank for this purpose sitting at their shop.
Slide it in and hook up the plumbing.
Yeah.
So there would really be no engineering
What
costs.
did they
in
quote you the
future.
cost is?
They haven't given a cost because we haven't approached them about this option yet.
But I wanted.
Online, they're 7,600.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably
And
pretty
and the
close.
engineering design on that would probably be close to 5,000 by the time you get the change order. in.
Yeah,
Engineers.
to re-engineer it right now would probably delay the project probably 3 weeks and, be another 5,000, which is, I mean, I get it. It's fair. If they have to redesign something, they need to be compensated for it. Being an engineer, that's a former consultant. That's,
It's all about.
I understand that. It's all about not getting in trouble with your boss. So, but if we do this during construction, I think we can do it in a way that we can work a little bit closer with the supplier as a city and just say, let's rethink this and revamp it a little bit. And it doesn't slow us down right now, so we can get it out to bid and then,
Another option there is we get everything designed as is, and then as we get into construction of the project, maybe we pull that from the contract, that particular portion of hooking up the fuel tanks, just delete it from the project and then come back and do it ourselves. That would be my thought, Rick.
Yeah.
Off the top.
Yeah, we could work directly with West Tech to do it too if we need to.
So
So
that would, again, time is of the essence on that. Anything we do to delay this project is just pushing us up against the winter window that's coming up.
Yeah.
Even though it's 103 degrees today, winter's coming fast. So,
yeah,
so,
and we are gonna just so the design's almost done. Barring that was kind of the last issue we were working out. We are paving the road to the well house so we can snow blow it in the winter with a gate. I've talked to the property owner that we have the easement on, and he's fine with it. In fact, he wants to get with us when we have the design. And he has a few ideas on how we can keep water make little troughs off to his yard so the water coming down the road doesn't go all the way down to the circle. It'll kind of bell off the road onto his yard. Geez, if you're willing to do that, fine. What's Dave Taylor?
as
Okay,
long-
that side of the road. Okay.
as long as he's aware that, of any maintenance that's done on that road may drain into his property.
Yeah, and,
i.e. salt or whatnot the case might be.
yeah.
So I think if he wants to make some designs, we owe it to him to make sure that, and he's probably on top of it anyway, but just make sure that he's aware of all the potential risk of doing what he suggests.
Yeah.
Okay?
And Ted, that road will be paved in the fall.
Yeah, likely be. Well, it's up to the contractor. They pave it in the
Okay.
fall. That's going to be one of the first things they're going to have to do. It would be beneficial for them because then it's easier to keep clear if they have to work up there in the winter in the well house. But
Paving
they-
in the winter.
Yeah, but it's beyond about November 1, you're not going to be able to pave. So it's going to be up to the contractor if he wants to pave before weather gets too bad. And this would be the first thing he'd have to do, or he can wait till the spring and do it. And the spring probably be more beneficial to the city because then it's a nicely paved road when he's done with the project, basically. Otherwise, they're running their equipment up and down there. One of them is going to be a crane.
Has that been bid out yet?
No, it's getting close. We're about 90, what did I say, 96.8%.
Is that right?
96.8.
So
Yeah.
basically, we can look at having the design then in the next week or two.
Yeah, it was going to be done. They were going to put it out to bid this week till this fuel thing came up. And so hopefully within the next week, we'll have it ready to go out to bid.
And those road contractors, how long are they holding bids now?
Not long.
Yeah.
Depends on who you talk to.
And this will be a sub to a general. So it won't be like a road contractor that's going to general the project. It'll be like probably a contractor. The primary contractor will maybe a well type contractor, and he'll have a sub like Eccles or Staker or someone come in to do the road part.
And their prices, are they stabilized? Are they going up still for
This is on what you're talking.
road surfaces?
Asphalt hasn't done much.
Yeah, I would say they've I don't know that stable is the right word, but their increase has declined.
Instead of
There we
6%
go.
annually.
You mean it's going down?
Yeah, well, so we were on a curve
Inflation's going down on that?
during COVID. We were on a curve like a steep like this, and now we're kind of gone like this, and we're kind of just slowly. It went from like I remember at one time during COVID, it was about a 10%. Construction was going up at about a 10% increase by the time you added labor and materials together. I mean, they're much less than that now. So
If we push it into spring, is it going to be a significant?
I don't think so because we'll get the bid.
The hard part for us is it's almost.
They'll
summer
have to
by
hold the
time we
bid.
can pave that road.
Yeah.
What?
Almost summer by the time we can
Oh,
actually pave
yeah.
that road.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
what you're saying is kind of a, double-edged sword is the right word for it, where if we do it now, we may not get the quality and there'll be a lot of traffic on it that,
Construction traffic.
will degrade it during the period. If we wait till spring, we might get a little bit better, I won't say better road, but we may have less traffic on it. It may tend to last longer.
It's going to be probably just a 3/6, type surface.
With cranes going on it?
It'll be a crane. One crane will have to go up there to pull the pump out, the well pump out, and put the new one in. When we say a crane, it's like a 10-foot wide crane. That's
Okay, like a home
It's a pump
truss
truck.
crane.
yeah, kind of. I mean, they're not huge. We had one up there when we did the pump replacement.
So we're not
a couple
talking
months ago.
tons of construction traffic anyway.
No, most will be utility trucks that'll be going up and down there, just daily as they're working at the well house. But If I were a contractor, that'd be the first thing I'd do. I'd probably get this road done so I could get better access during the winter. I was talking to Rhino Pumps, who is the company that replaced our pump up here when it went down a few months ago, and they had to do some work over in in the Maple Canyon well that we share with Salem, and they had 3 feet of snow. It was the middle of winter, and they had to get up there. It took them almost a week. Took them almost a week just to clear snow to get up there. So they had to go rent skid steers and everything just to clear the road to get up to that well. So this would be the first thing I could do, because once you get it paved, you could snow blow it after that and keep it a little bit clear. But it'll be up to them however they want to approach it.
About a 15% grade going up that hill?
Not quite, but
Not
yeah,
quite.
it's
Well,
probably about a 12-ish. 12. Well, it might be a 12 to 15. Yeah, it's probably between that.
Right under the code.
Be fun going down the one?
14.9999.
Yeah,
It's that last 1%.
That's what we're showing.
it's a good thing Corbett's not inspecting it, because he'd find the one spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
so one more question. You and I had a little discussion on about the ARPA funds and when exactly they needed to be spent. Did we get clarification on that?
December 31st.
We do have till the end of the
You
year.
have to have the end of the year to
Okay,
spend the
that's-
remaining 130 or
So,
whatever.
okay, that's good. So that clears up the mud on that. So that buys us an extra 3 months.
Yeah.
From what I was understanding. Okay, good.
And I'm not sure, I don't think we did, but we could have used some of it on that pump replacement for the well up there. But I don't
Yeah,
think we
we,
did.
by that, is it on the road? I mean, or whatever else the case.
I think it has to be on our water, but
Okay,
I think it's, yeah, designated to our water, but we could have done that pump, but I don't think we ended up using that to pay for it. But, one of the first things we're going to do is run that power. So
okay, that's good. Anything else on that? I mean,
no, it'll be exciting to get that well done and be able to
We-
operate it like we should be operating it.
hopefully have it out to bid by September 1st.
Yeah. I hope by the next week and a half, it's out to bid.
Okay. I guess what I meant to say, out to bid and bid accepted.
Probably be prepared for the September council meeting to go to council.
Okay.
Probably they're estimating a couple $100,000 project. And maybe not including the road. So it might be $250,000.
Super duper. Anything else or any other comments on the well? That being said, I'll go ahead and I'll move on to item number 4. Ted wanted to take some time to give us an overview of his discussions with Salem City on the Maple Canyon well. Again, I'll turn the time over to Ted.
So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, let you know kind of what the discussion is, and then just get some feedback from the committee on what your thoughts are as we start to discuss this more with Salem. It'll eventually be talked about with the council too. Salem called. So if you're not aware, there's a well and tank up Maple Canyon. It pumps about 1,300-ish gallons a minute. We have 40% interest in that well and tank, which is about 500-ish plus or minus, well, plus it's 535 or something like that. Gallons per minute is our share of that well. So Salem has been asking if we would be willing to sell our 40%. The number I've heard they would maybe offer is about $2 million. Now, don't quote me on that because that came from someone who wasn't supposed to be telling me. Oh, this is a public meeting, isn't it? That doesn't matter.
Nobody listens.
Yeah.
We're good on this.
Scratch that, but no one, yeah, no one. It's been an interesting conversation with them. So anyway, I went back and started running some numbers. I said, okay, what kind of advantage or disadvantage does this present to us? So I started looking at demands, first of all. Our demand right now, we have 490 connections. It's about a gallon a minute per connection is what our demand is. So roughly we're around, it's a little over that, so 500 gallons a minute is what our demand is. Our well that we own up here will pump 750 gallons a minute.
That's the new one.
No, that's
That's
the
the
one we have
existing
now.
one, that's right.
That's the one we have now. It'll pump out stuff. However, during the summer, I can't keep up. About 2 days a week, I have to pull out out of the well over here in Maple Canyon for about 2 hours in the morning when everyone's watering. I have to pull water out of that one about twice a week. For some reason, Mondays and Fridays. Everyone must turn on their sprinklers. For about 2 hours, I have to supplement our well with that well just to keep the tank from getting too empty. I mean, we make it survive, but it would be like, we'd be almost out of water. But during the winter, no problem. We keep up, without any issues when there's no outdoor watering. With this well upgrade that we're doing, the projections that the hydrogeologist made is we should be able to pull about 1,200 gallons a minute out of this well up here. So 11 to 1,200 is
What the
probably,
max load so I guess you're saying that those few days in the summer we're pulling what, 1,000?
I would say we're pulling around probably 1,000 to 1,100 during those peak hours. It's about 3 or 4 hours in the morning. We have some peak hours in the summer, and that's when we the tank starts to drop. And the way I've got it working now is our well is the primary well. It'll kick on when the tank water height is 23 feet. When the tank drops to 17 feet in the summer, I go a little lower in the winter, but in the summer, at 17 feet, our well pump kicks on. And then it'll fill the tank back up to 23. However, in the summer mornings, it'll kick on at 17 feet, but still keeps dropping. And most mornings, it'll get down to 11-ish feet before it catches and then starts recovering again. And like right now, it's just now filling the tank. And it's, it started sometime early this morning. And then about twice a week. So then I've got the booster pump where we pull out of Maple Canyon. I've got that set. So if our tank gets down to 9 feet, that will kick on. And then it supplements our well. And then they'll both be working to fill up our tank. And I can recover fairly quickly when that happens, because that'll pump about 500-ish gallons a minute. So with our well upgrade, if we can get the 11 to 1,200 gallons a minute that they're estimating, I don't think we would need that at all right now. Even peak summer, we would keep up. Our average flow says that 1,200 gallons a minute will get us until 2045 on growth demands.
Really?
Our build out is, so we have 490 connections now. Our build out is about 960 connections. So we're about halfway built out, a little over halfway built out. And 1,200 gallons a minute would be we need about, at full build out, we need about 1,450-ish gallons a minute is what we're going to need. So with this well up here, we would be a couple hundred gallons a minute short, even at full build out. So they've been asking us about selling our 40%. We would keep the same connection to it. In other words, the way it's working now, it would continue to work. We would just only take it when we need it, and they would charge us for the water we use. Right now, we pay 40% of the cost of that well and tank, regardless of how much water we use. Every month, we get 40% of the power costs, 40% of the maintenance costs, 40% of their personnel time is something we pay every month, regardless of how much water we use, like I said. And that, I just was running some numbers the last couple of days. That works out to be about a little over, probably about $2.50 per 1,000 gallons. Right now, we charge water users for their first 5,000 gallons $1 per 1,000. From 5,000 to 20,000 gallons, we charge them $2 per 1,000 gallons. So we don't really start kind of, so to speak, making money. We're kind of losing money until someone starts using over 20,000 gallons, which then you're talking kind of our higher end users. So what I'm saying is this is kind of expensive water. So the thinking is, can we sell this 40%, get a couple million for it? And then the money we're saving on this 40% that we're paying for this well every month, plus I hear there's about $1 million upgrade coming to the well that we would be responsible for 40% of the cost of. We would save that money, plus bank the couple million, and then maybe in 10 years, we could find another source. We'll always keep a connection to that well as a backup. So if we ever need water, we can continue to draw the well like we are now. They would just charge us $1 per 1,000 gallons, which is our lowest tier rate. Yeah, and they do the same thing with Elk Ridge and Payson right now. Same kind of contractual arrangements they have with them.
So right now, that's something I did not understand, so I'm gonna repeat that. So even if we pump 0 gallons,
We pay 40%
we
of the
pay
cost.
that
'Cause we
whatever they
maintain
pump.
it.
So
Yeah.
basically, we're subsidizing 40% of their water delivery cost.
Right. We
So
pay 40%
we-
regardless of
we-
how much
We
water.
use zero of the demand, but we pay for 40%. We use zero of the storage. We pay for 40%. Yeah, that's not a, we
Yeah,
end up in a deal
I
like
have
that.
no idea. And that's why I had Lori go back and pull our last 2 years of water use and our last 2 years of bills that we paid Salem.
We should be using that water first.
And it
That-
came out
that-
to $2.10 per thousand gallons, but that doesn't include what she's still gathering is the power cost we pay for the booster station that we own to pump it up to our tank once we take it out of that Maple Canyon. So it's kind of expensive water. How we got into the, and that's since 2022, March of this year, those costs went up because Salem hadn't increased the maintenance costs on that, meaning their personnel maintenance time, since 1995. So they just they just increased that. So 2022 is even probably a conservative estimate compared to what it will be going forward. Yeah,
Ted, I have a question.
those are kind of out of, okay, those are kind of out of there. They only pump about like 50 gallons a minute and they would take a lot of work to rehab. But not to say we couldn't get rid of them and drill another one down there. Yeah, Carrie?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so we're talking about that this 40%, we're paying 40% of the infrastructure costs. And if we sold it, then those water rights would go to Salem, and you're saying that the contract we would make with them with the purchase would still allow us to have an emergency, I guess, connection that we would be able to use extra money extra water in our peak times, for a cost that would probably potentially also fluctuate in cost over the years as they also grow and expand and build out. We did use the well quite a bit when those pumps were down before we could get them fixed. So are we not thinking that we would need it for that type of emergency as well, or would it still be available for that extended period of time, whether it was winter or summer, if our pump went out, or any other mechanical issues with the Broad Hollow well?
Be two answers to that question. One, we don't lose the water rights. They're still our water rights. We just detach them from that well and we keep them and move them to this well up here. So we wouldn't lose the water rights. But secondly, yes, the emergency connection would be that the kind of the way they do it with Elk Ridge, what they were explaining to me is that if there is an emergency situation like we had when we had to replace our pump and our well was down, that they could not shut us out of water, that they would have to continue to supply us with water to meet our demand, and they would just charge us for that water at $1 per thousand or whatever the cost is at the time, right? Because even our water rates are going to go up over time.
Mhm.
So,
And they would have enough real water to be able to do that, even though they're also building out that same area that will be using that well.
So couple answers to that. One, the water that's there is there, regardless of whether we have an emergency connection or a 40% ownership in it. It doesn't change what water's there.
Okay.
Secondly, they would have to, in the agreement, like they do with Elk Ridge, they commit to so much water that in an event of an emergency, if it requires them to, say, shut down outdoor watering on their supplies or whatever they need to do, that they would do that to make sure that our emergency is met. Now,
Okay.
and I'm not saying whether I'm pro or con for this. I'm just putting together information right now, and that's why I want feedback. It just, and my thought was, and here's why I was thinking this is, this well's been good for us. We do always get I always get complaints. As soon as we start pumping out of that one, we get smell or visual complaints. So if we looked at something like this, I would go visit with Central Utah as well, because Central Utah is building a water treatment plant over here, and they're going to bring a culinary water right below our city. And I'm hearing it's going to be in the neighborhood of 350 PSI water, which would
This
get
will be a
culinary.
system? Okay.
Yeah, they've already bought the property over here by D.R. Hortons for the treatment plant. So they're going to be building a treatment plant. They're saying it's probably 10 years out from having this. But they are going to build a treatment plant over here, run culinary water along here. If we could get a tap into that, we could get, 700 feet up our city before we'd even have to pump it, which may reach our booster station over here. Then we could have availability to pump the tank up here or feed the lower half, either one like we do with Maple Canyon right now. So use the infrastructure we have with some modifications, tap into central Utah. And once again, I don't know what they're going to charge for the water, so we'd have to look at that. But that gives us two completely different sources of water. Right now, even wells around the area, we're still relying on the same
It's-
aquifer.
We believe it's the same aquifer.
Yeah.
And there's some question if it's the same or if it's different, but I'm thinking it's all probably the same.
And the hydrogeology that's been done in the area by the consulting firm says, is basically kind of confirming that it's the same aquifer. And, of course, the more holes that get punched in it, the more water you're pumping out and the more you have less to draw. So this would be water, that comes from central Utah through treatment that
Would this come out of the existing irrigation pipeline that they've just put in?
I think it's going to be a separate pipeline because that's all secondary water.
But yeah, I mean, it still comes from the same source, wouldn't it? It's just strawberry water.
Probably the same source, but I imagine what they'll do is they'll run it through the treatment plant over here and then put in a separate pipeline from the treatment plant coming this way for culinary because they've already got the one for secondary, right?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Would they pull the secondary line off and treat that for culinary?
For culinary,
That was
yeah.
my question. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be just pumping that water up. They would just treat that water and pump it up here.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so that's a possible second option. These are discussions that are not in a hurry. What I mentioned to them is, before we could even kind of go down this path, I first got to know what our well's going to pump once we get the upgrade done. Because if it produces 1,100, 1,200 gallons a minute, I mean, that's great. When I look at our projections and the master plan that was done, that gets us through 2045. By then we could have another connection to central Utah or something, or drill another well up here. I hate drilling more wells because it's all the same water.
Same time.
Yeah, you're just putting more straws in the same cup. So maybe look at something like that. But I don't know that for sure. I mean, our pump up here, our well up here is a little over 600 feet deep. And water elevation, I think, was somewhere around about 300 feet down or something like that.
There's been some discussion back and forth over the years and really no solid, without doing a lot of hydraulic studies, there's really no solid answer to it. But there's the discussion is because this aquifer is above the fault line, it is a different aquifer than the one below the fault line. And there's a barrier in there that's separating the two.
Problem is we can't find the fault line.
Yeah, the
No,
fault line's theoretical.
I'm thinking, from what I'm seeing, I think our well is right through the middle of the fault line.
It's mapped
I tell you
right through
what,
it.
it's close.
Hanson L. Luce recently did a hydrogeology study on the whole southern Utah County aquifer, and I'd like you to hold it and read it. He did a presentation on it a year ago to WWA. I mean, the result was that there's only so limited water, and the more
course.
holes you poke in it, the more you're going to be overdrawing or overdrafting the aquifer.
You know, and that's been a drum I beat on for a few years. I quit beating on it. Is, what is our water source? Just because we have this much water in water right, do we actually have this much water, especially as people are growing? One big plus is this irrigation line that was put in by Central Utah is going to take a lot of pressure off the water sources.
Yeah.
So that's a big plus.
It's huge.
Um,
To me, it seems like a home run.
And just keep in mind, even if we keep our 40% in Maple Canyon, it still won't meet our demand through build out, right? Because we get 500 and something gallons a minute out of that. Let me take it back. If this one will produce 200 or 1,200, then yes, we would. If we kept
But
that and
barely.
upgraded ours.
But
But
you're
barely.
talking 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And if we can get another connection in the next decade, it's not from the aquifer.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
And that's the nice thing, because if the aquifer levels start dropping, like in Cedar City right now, they're overdrafting, right? Their water levels are dropping because they're drawing too much water out of the aquifer. If that started happening here, but you've got another connection, that just gives you a little bit more reliability.
Wait, because this whole valley is probably I'm not sure if it's got the designation, but it's essentially a single source aquifer. That's the only source of water for everybody. Right, this would bring it from, out of Strawberry more than likely. That gives
So we're
us a
taking
second-
Duchesne County's water
Yeah,
instead.
it would, yeah, it would Duchesne County.
Yeah.
There's
Or
enough.
Colorado's water.
Yeah.
California's water.
We're trying to get our portion share out of California so they don't get it all. They're our water.
And, But
Yeah.
essentially, it gives us a second source of water. So if this does dry up, we would have the.
We need it. No, we need that.
Yeah.
But I also think that we're spending way too much money
Well-
for a well we're not using enough.
If in fact that's the case, I've never understood to be the case. That's something that definitely needs to be looked at. I would say, I'm not a real fan of giving up our water source because there's
We're
so
not
many-
giving it up though. We're just.
Well, I said water source, I meant to say our actual water supply. We wouldn't be giving up the water, but I would want to make sure if we proceed with at least talking to them about this, there are a lot of nuances that we need to make sure are covered.
Right. And the first step is, and so my next meeting with them is not till January. The reason that because I told them until we get this well upgrade done and know how much water we're going to pull out of this well, then I really am hesitant to make any kind of further, because if we upgrade the well and it only pulls another 100 gallons a minute for some reason, then the discussion is kind of off the table. We can't lose that water.
But we're not losing it. We still have access.
Right,
We're
right,
just
you're right,
paying
right.
for
We
it.
still have access.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, we're actually, and it is true. If we sell the 40% and then we just pay Salem for the water we take from them, it actually is
It's cheaper.
cheaper
It
water.
might be.
Well, and over time, it's cheaper too.
Well,
Yeah.
and then
So
you
I don't
can put in
understand.
that additional tank, which would handle your research.
Yeah. And we do need, our master plan says we are short on storage right now. We need another tank right now.
Which this actually highlights, because that's your surge capacity. We're dropping during a surge time, significant amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's a home run. I don't understand why it's even a bad idea because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it. We're paying less per gallon than we are now, and the price is going to go up. Like you said, they're going to do an upgrade that they're going to ask us to do 40%.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to do some major overhaul on that well.
What percentage of that tank are we actually using on a normal time frame? You know what I mean? How much we actually?
Maple Canyon. Yeah. So what do we draw?
Monday, Fridays.
Yeah.
Whatever it is
I've got
I don't
the-
understand. From what you've explained, it seems like this is a no-brainer.
I can't imagine, though, that once Salem starts to calculate this from a financial perspective, that $2 million is going to stay. Because if we're already
Well,
paying
that
They
number
had-
is ethereal. That number is ethereal, but either way, what we pay for per use, let alone what they buy it for, is still cheaper.
Yeah,
So
either way.
I'll tell you where that
It's
number
just
came from.
cheaper.
They had their consulting engineer put together what do you call those things when you have a home appraisal? So they hired their consulting engineer, which is Hanson and Luce. If you know them, they're like the well guru engineering firm. They came up, did an assessment for Salem and told Salem if this 40% is worth this value. And that's where Salem got that number from. So they're just kind of buying into what their consultant told them. Okay.
I'm not on board for it being a no-brainer as of yet, because there's a lot of things we don't know.
But
But I think it's definitely worth pursuing. One
Yeah.
thought.
we need more info because it's.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking right now is if we're paying 40% of all the water that's coming out of that right now and 40% of all the power and maintenance,
We're paying for 30.
we may as well be running our booster pumps full force to get as much of that as we can to bring the aggregate cost down. And if we're gonna be paying for it anyway, it's gonna bring the cost per gallon up, but it's gonna lower the cost per gallon on the other one. I think we need to do an evaluation to see if it makes more sense for us to start just running our boosters full.
But then we're
full-
also paying for the booster and.
Well, I agree, we need to, but it saves.
Whatever the
public-
cost per gallon is, you need to find the middle
Yeah,
ground.
because to me, it just changes the whole dynamic. If we're paying 40% and getting nothing out of it, that just doesn't seem like makes good financial sense.
Yeah, there's two tricks. That one or two thoughts to that as we look at it. One is the more we do pull out of there, the more we have to boost, which ups our power cost at the booster station. That number is one Lori's helping me out with right now to figure out, okay, how does that cost play into it? And then secondly, the more the intangible is, the more we use that water, the more phone calls I get saying my water stinks
That's-
and my water's cloudy.
And as far as the power cost, once we use that pump for 15 minutes, we're already on the man charge.
Yeah.
And so that's usually, that can be 75% of the cost, depending on how you use it. You want to get that demand charge to be a smaller percentage of the cost. And the only way to do that is to pump more water through it to get the aggregate cost per gallon down. There's a formula for that that's, I can run through with everybody, but you want to try, if you're running a pump, you really want to try and get 60 to 60, minimum of 60%, up to 90% usage out of it to bring that demand cost down and aggregate it into the total cost per gallon. And if we're running it at, 2 weeks, 2 hours a week, our aggregate pump on that, is probably 5, 10, maybe 15%, which is really cost ineffective. So I think, I did not realize we were doing that. I thought we were just paying for the water we were using. If we are in fact paying for everything, yeah, we need to reevaluate it.
Well, now some of the big costs that make me a little nervous coming, because it's stuff we don't even have in our budget and would be tough. I mean, come up with $400,000 rev. But so just to give you an idea, we've used about 25 million gallons out of that Maple Canyon well over the last 2 years. Our city uses about 100 and something million gallons a year. So what, a little over 1% or something like that?
But yeah, we're paying how much for that 1% of that water? Is that what you said?
1% of our water demand. Now, not the water that comes out of there, out of that well. I'm not sure. I don't know what the total water, and we actually could calculate it because we know what the total water use that comes out of there for us in Salem. But we use, but I mean, it like last month, we used 16 million of that. That was when our well was down.
Yeah.
So 16 of that 25 was in 1 month.
Yeah, I would,
So anyway, there's this, I just wanted some thoughts. Like I said, there's nothing urgent. I told them we really can't continue this until we have a better handle on what happens with our well upgrade. That'll kind of help make some of these decisions. I'm still running through some financial data because I want to see if it pencils out financially for us. But initially, I mean, the concept, the initial concept, that overriding concept in my thought process of this, if we can take $2 million out of there and look at another connection to Central Utah, I mean, to me, that's kind of a win. And we still don't lose our emergency connection there.
we've got $2 million we can certainly use in our system someplace.
Yeah. Plus the savings in not paying that 40%
And that-
every month.
One thing I would love to see, and again, I'm not decision makers here, but one thing I would love to see is to make sure, no matter what, that $2 million is restricted to water system and cannot be used anywhere else.
Yeah.
It would have to, I mean, that would be, if I was a voting member on a council or a decision maker at all, I would make sure that whatever money comes out of that is used for that and nothing else.
Yeah. Because we've
Yeah,
got,
I was kind of thinking that same thing is, if we were to get maybe that price or more, would we have any, by January, would we have any estimates on how much it would potentially cost for us to hook into the Central Utah treatment plant project, or whatever they would assess us to be able to utilize that as a second connection? Do we even have any kind of guess of what that estimation would be, that we
That's
could
probably-
maybe earmark that 2 million towards that?
that's probably years away before we're going to have any idea on that. It's
Mhm.
so high level right now that I don't even think Central Utah knows. I'm not even sure.
Okay.
This is kind of very high level concept planning. I'm not even sure they've got into the weeds enough to know what their capital costs are going to be and what they're going to have to charge for treatment and all that stuff.
It's
So
essentially conceptual at this point.
right. It's a plan that is in motion, but it's just concept right now.
But regardless,
basically.
yeah, it could be used for that. It could be used for a new storage tank. It could be used, as long as it's used for water system improvements, that would be.
We've got, 8 miles of pipe left that's still over 50 years old right now that needs to be replaced. And so we got a lot of water work we can do.
Yeah, I agree with the kind of discussion. We at least ought to explore it, but I think we ought to, I mean, there's a lot of things that we would need to look at.
Mark, I didn't have yours.
Why what? I have a favor to ask. I have to return to work. Can number 6 be next?
Sadly.
Yes, we can
No,
certainly do that.
when you're ready to do that.
That's all I have on the well, really. I just think about it as we have future meetings, maybe maybe give some thoughts. We can just keep it on the agenda, just more for feedback. I can update if we, like I said, probably the next meeting I'm gonna have with them, it's gonna be on the table now till January.
Are you building like a formula? Because I think if there was like just a spreadsheet of formula that no matter what, you just plug the numbers in and then that really can
So-
educate.
Yeah, and that's,
If I may, that was Steve, right?
no, that was,
Oh, that was Dave. I didn't realize. Oh, okay. I thought that was, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Well,
Unless you want to call me Steve.
yeah.
I misread that. So if, yeah, whenever you're done, we can move on to number 6. So we can get back to number 4 if you want in a minute, or we can finish number 4 and move on to number 6, whatever's more.
It's whatever you guys are at.
Is there more to do at number 4?
That's really all I have on number 4. Just think about it. We'll talk about it over the next few months. There's no updates. with-
January really can't. do much
January, there's
more.
nothing I'm talking about with Sam.
If you could just show us, there's just the difference, simply.
Yeah, I'll bring you, I've been working on spreadsheets a couple different ways. I've been looking at what demands do we have, what are our needs water-wise, then I'm also looking at the financial, the numbers.
Right.
You know, here's what our costs are right now, and here's what, potential. So
For
working
me-
on those spreadsheets so I can bring into some meetings, we can start looking at some numbers.
For me right now, given the financing options we have with, or the, not financing options, but the way that it's financed, we really need to take a hard look at, does it make sense to use that water more or continue on the way we're continuing? What is going to be the bottom line cost per gallon, especially with us having to play catch up? And I realize we're only probably 30 days out from that all happening. It may take that long to get the math together, but that's a big concern for me, is if we're paying for water or, usage that we're not using, that's a concern.
It's really a winter thing. During the summer,
Yeah.
like right now, I'm using it. I use it probably 4 to 6 hours a week. I pump out of there. And last month, we probably pumped well more than our 40%.
Pretty busy with that last month.
Yeah. During the winter is when we don't use it because our well has no issues keeping up during the winter. And that water is just bad enough that I don't like the complaints.
Plus, we'll be using it during the upgrade project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be using, quality wise is fine.
Right,
Anybody
it's
listening
just
online,
like-
quality wise is fine. It just has an odor and
My
sometimes
wife,
little
every
cloudy
time
look to it.
switches, she knows.
Yeah, me too. I had, when we were running the emergency well, when we were doing the emergency project, I couldn't tell. My water was fine. But just recently, I can last about 2 weeks. I can tell the morning it kicks on. One, because I see it on the SCADA, so I know, but I'll kick on my water and I can smell sulfur for a minute. I'm like, yeah, we're pumping out of Maple Canyon right now.
Okay, if there's no more on that, I'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and jump to number 6. Dave wants to,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So Ted, do you want to do the first part and then I can just finish it up if you have, I know you had ordered some blades and.
Yeah, so I don't know if we talked about it. We ordered the new blades and they are delivered. So we got we got the 2 plows. For those who don't know, we call wear blades on the bottom of the plow.
Right.
And that's what wears out that you replace. Yeah, so we had that new style we wanted to try. We ordered, one of the old ones was still pretty good from last year. So we'll reuse that one until it wears out. The new one we ordered is delivered. It's sitting down here, so it's ready to go onto the plow whenever we want to put it on and try that new style. Our second plow is now back. We went and got it today, so it's sitting down there now. Ryan and I took a nice hot ride back from Salt Lake with no air conditioning.
And I know on a day like today, it's kind of hard to imagine, but literally we will be plowing in a little over 2 months.
Yeah.
Kind of sick,
Crazy.
crazy. So at this point in time, we will go through and just get all the training ready, get the drivers in, train them on it. We'll try to not repeat some of the mistakes of the past.
Craig offered to come up and help us with the
Yes, we're
training.
gonna do that.
So they know what to do, like what zerts to lube and everything,
Like
every time, every
exactly
shift.
How you put, you lock the hubs in, and all, I mean, everything that.
When you're done, what to wash, what to grease.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
stuff
I mean,
they
it's
can
a
do
fairly
every shift.
straightforward thing at this point.
we're not to put hydraulic oil.
Okay, so from a plow driver perspective, we still need to discuss if there's some different controls that we can get, because.
I just looked at it today and I'm like, wait a minute.
Why?
I grabbed the handheld one and I'm like,
The thing is, those actually have a tendency, the contacts, to not necessarily burn up, but what'll happen is it'll stop functioning. And so the old controls, which were awesome, you could basically like drive without looking, without looking at the controls. You could just use them with
Because
your
they were
hand.
hydraulic?
Not just hydraulic, but you could control everything from basically a single apparatus.
Okay.
Like you could change your salt rotation, the spinners, everything about it, plus up and down, sideways. But these, you're going to have to pay attention. And if you hold it down in any fashion, it will just cause problems. Now,
There are two different panels.
Yeah,
One works the salt spreader and the other works the
exactly.
blade.
So it's just going to be a bit of a challenge. So Ted, if we can continue to see if there's another option.
Let me know
Brings
what
those
you
together.
want and I
I
can,
just probably need to talk to Craig because he was going to look into that a little bit. So that'd be my request. Is
We
that-
had,
Craig is where we're getting the trucks from?
no, he knows what we have, so he can tell me, like, I can order
He's
them
still-
or whatever,
he's-
and then he'll install them for us if we want. If we can get them at the right time.
And no AC on the trucks?
Well, there is AC, and it actually
Well,
works
they're probably
good.
talking
The
about
truck's
the
not
old
overheating.
ones.
No, the new one.
Oh, and the new ones.
So what we learned is when you're driving the new truck in 105-degree weather with a plow blade up that blocks the radiator,
Yeah,
coming
it
from Salt
tends-
Lake.
Tends to overheat.
starts to overheat, so then you have to shut the air conditioner off. Yeah, it does overheat. So we had,
So that was the cause. That's funny. I didn't know.
so we had to shut off the air conditioner on our drive to make it back.
That makes sense. Yeah.
and I feel really bad now because I found out later after I took a shower how bad I smelled.
I was just mouth breathing the whole time.
And so at this point, probably the next meeting is when there'll be probably a more material update.
Okay.
For now, it's just more
Perfect. Just-
knowing that we're
Next meeting
We're moving forward.
and we'll be going through the city also. I'll be starting to do that to make sure that our reflectors are up and running. I know kids like to
Up
probably
and
take
not
them
run
home.
over.
Yeah, they like to either try to put them over and or take them home probably. So,
Yeah. Dave, can you remind me? I didn't hear you quite clearly on when are you starting the training?
I would say it'll probably be mid-September. So it's not imminent because we want to kind of go through and see if there's an opportunity to get different controls. If not, we'll train on what we have and just appreciate what we have.
I like that. Appreciate what we have.
I know you
Why can't more people be like that?
last year, and
Oh,
wanna go ahead and get some
yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
order some.
There is that. So Ted, I don't want to necessarily, maybe we can take this offline, but as soon as the loader comes in, it'd be good to start taking the salt that's behind it that would never be used in its current location, move it all the way to the back and get rid of those blocks.
Wall blocks.
And then determine, do we need, because I bet you we have about easily 500 ton down there.
There's quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to get it to where we can actually get to.
Yes. And so before there's more
What's the half-life
delivered,
of
let's
salt?
just see how far we can get into the season based upon prior seasons.
Loader's supposed to be here for September.
Okay. Because I'll go down there or,
Yeah, we have to.
because we have to train on it anyway, might as well train by moving the salt and then get rid of the blocks. Are we going to keep the conveyor? I like it, but if we have a loader, we could do a slightly different thing and then free up that area as well.
Yeah, and that's it's up to you guys.
Okay.
I'm willing to entertain that.
Let's talk to John about it and see.
You guys have
Get
to
the drivers
operate it.
together and see, because with a loader, we can literally put some blocks outside, pull the truck so that we don't hit into it, and then load with the loader. And that would be
Nice.
faster than the conveyor, because you can only put so much in the conveyor before it starts to cause a problem. With the loader, we can load a
And
lot
you almost
faster.
need to load the conveyor anyway, right?
Yeah, and
Into that.
So
you can
I
only load
think we
so
would have
much.
a real hard time with loading the conveyor with a loader.
Yes,
It's
Yeah.
too small in there. It works with a Bobcat, but a loader is going.
a loader's going to
That's right.
there'll be too much weight.
I'm 100% with you on this. It sounds to me like if we've got a loader, what's the
We
point
go
of
there.
having the conveyor?
So let's take all the blocks out. Let's remove the conveyor. Maybe even sell it for maybe a few bucks for some new controls. And then we could get more salt in there, not have to stack it as high, which is a little problematic. People probably don't know this. The salt was really stacked high last time. We would actually remove it and try to move the skid steer back before it.
Building on-
Now, a couple times I couldn't move, and I had to kind of, and I'm guaranteed John and others did the same, because we didn't want others to come in there and have the thing like, 100 ton of salt drop on top of it. Little tiny things like that kind of go unnoticed. So we would actually bury under and then try to pull back when we would see it start to collapse.
By the way, this new loader has an extended bucket on it, so now it goes up
Oh,
and
yes,
down, it
it's
goes
on it
out
too.
and in.
So we're, anyway, that's all I have at this point. So a more material update would be next meeting.
That's good news on that, because I the last time I heard, we were gonna redesign the conveyor system to where it lifted it vertical. and
That never would have
horizontal.
worked, I can guarantee it.
It didn't look like it was,
Salt is just way too, there's no context that would have worked. But outside of that, we'll be able to move salt into the beds faster. Right now, when you're out of salt, it'd probably take what, 20, 30 minutes to go to the bottom and load it up. This will take that in half.
How
So we'll
big-
be on the road.
how big a
faster.
loader?
It's called a mini loader. I'll have to look, I can't remember.
We're
It's
talking about,
easily 3 times the bucket load of a skid steer.
so,
And we usually do about 3 bucket loads of skid steer in the conveyor.
so
Yeah.
we're talking about a half-yard bucket, maybe?
Hmm?
Half a yard bucket?
It's probably about right.
So, and what do we got, 2-yard trucks? Snow plows?
They're a little more than that.
See, I think the loader's probably bigger than a half a yard because
Might be a
the
Okay.
the bed of these new ones, they probably are close to 4.5. And we could load with the skid steer, 5 full?
So I never went over.
I never did either, but if you wanted to go over the top, people that do that, you'd put 5 full
Okay,
loads in
and
there
that was with the skids.
with the skid
So
steer.
we could probably do it with 2 or 3.
That's what I'm
with the-
thinking, yeah.
Okay, and it would be I guess you could, logistically, you could work it out to where each truck driver loads his own load, or if it gets really
That's what-
heavy.
yeah, and that's what we do today.
Yeah, and if it gets really heavy, maybe you could just have an operator who's just loading
Ah,
while,
that-
we're
no,
not
that-
there,
yeah,
okay,
that
we're not there.
It is a 750 with a 90-inch bucket, 2-yard unlimited. Oh, no,
perfect.
never mind.
2
Never
yard.
mind. Sorry, no, wrong. Sorry. That was 2-year unlimited warranty.
That's a big ass bucket.
It's a 90, it just says 90-inch bucket. It doesn't give me this.
It's probably about at least 2 of the skid steer, I would assume.
Okay,
Yeah. And if anybody wants to help us out, we're always in need.
you need snowplow folks?
I know someone who might, but
Okay, yeah.
I know somebody who just gave up his,
Yeah, we try to have it be
Commercial drivers would
consistent
be-
because the more consistent the drivers, the less damage. And just, yeah, anyway. If anybody wants to drive around, be moving snow, moving it to the side, how about that?
I know there was some concern about using the loader, about hitting the trucks, but,
Just put a couple blocks there and then we drive up on the other side and bada bing.
yeah,
bada boom.
that.
well, I
makes-
worked at the salt mine where our salt comes from for 2 years. That's a lot of what I did was load trucks with loaders and with, oh, they were the big 40-ton haul trucks and the 980 loaders. Never hit the truck once.
No. The only
If
time
you're
we hit the
sleeping,
truck
maybe.
was with the Kubota, because the brakes were so crappy on it. Years and years ago, when there was actually a salt spreader that we would put into the service truck. I don't know if you guys remember that little small one that we had. Yeah, no, I don't see a problem, but we could mitigate that by putting a couple
Okay,
blocks
so-
up there, so.
just out of curiosity, if, I'm not gonna commit to snow plowing yet, but just out of
Oh,
curiosity.
just giving me,
Too late.
too late.
Too late.
Well, you're just last one to say not it.
I volunteered to fill in and I ended up on a whole shift.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. So, I wouldn't mind seeing what the operation is, because last time I looked at it, these, we're online, it's unfortunate. As it was being explained to me what the plans were, my eyes were kind of glossing over it, going, is there anybody in the world but you that's gonna understand what you're doing here?
It's all mathematical at this point.
I'm just, but, so, I mean, you're gonna hang a conveyor across the ceiling and it's
No,
gonna
let's
get
just say that
wet
we
and it's
just-
gonna get jammed, I spent some time at Kennecott. I know what happens to conveyors when they start getting wet, slurries especially. And,
Yeah, there's no need for
okay,
that.
so this sounds good. Where did
We
we
have plenty
get?
of space down there, so
Yeah.
we get it
where-
from Redmond Salt.
Yeah, right, I'm sorry. Where did we get the loader from?
It's from a company called Arm Up.
Is it?
Well, so,
Was it
let
state
me take it back.
contract?
Yes,
Okay.
state contract, but, sorry. So United Fleet Services is actually buying the loader and leasing it to us.
And then we also get a blower too, right, on it?
So we're buying the snow
Yeah,
blower.
so-
Yeah, we're getting a snow
So
blower.
we get best of all worlds.
That's
So
interesting.
did you,
I might-
Ted, did you say that? Did you say that the loader and the blower would be here by September 1st?
That's what they're telling me. 1st of September. I won't say September 1st, but the first part of
And
September.
we still have the skid steer if worst case
Yeah.
scenario, so. Yeah.
But what you described about putting some sort of a barrier so that the bucket has to go above the truck before that's, as long as you got enough reach with it, sounds like an extended bucket, that wouldn't be.
Some of the old duffers can't see properly, they just smash it inside probably.
Just back up till it sounds expensive. Okay.
True, that's what I was about, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so thank you.
don't
Thank,
see-
so obviously thanks to city council for getting new equipment because,
We are
Yeah.
going to need, Ted, different oils. This is the hydraulic fluid for those are different from what we're using. So we'll get
For what's worth,
As soon as we figure out what that is,
we need to get that. We need to get that.
Okay.
all right, thanks, I got to
Hey,
bail, I got to go back to
appreciate
work.
that. That's a cool update. That's nice to know.
Well,
that.
I mean, on a 100 and some odd degree day, thinking that we're gonna be plowing in 2 months is a little weird, but. Yeah.
I've got connection to the salt
It's
mine,
amazing.
so
It's amazing.
since
how
the mine
fast
manager's my
these things
cousin,
go on.
we'll get.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
Will we be
Thanks,
done in
Dave.
the
Have a
next,
good night.
I need to leave at 7:45. That's okay.
so
So we've got
let's,
7 minutes.
we're
as well.
about done here.
Sorry to,
Okay. So let's shift back up to number 5, West Loper contract, and that's just a quick update, and then I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, so we put West Lofer out to bid. It came in with a really good, I thought, a good price. It was a little over 300,000.
with who?
Hall Engineering and Construction. I wasn't familiar. I've never worked. I've heard of them briefly. They're out of Spanish Fork.
As long as they do a good job.
They've done work with Spanish Fork, called Spanish Fork. Spanish Fork didn't have any. I mean, they said, yeah, they've done a good job. Chad Hall is the owner of it. His dad actually used to be our engineer for Woodland Hills. He used to do city engineering. Bruce Hall is his name. I don't think it ended well with him in the city. But yeah, Carrie probably remembers him.
Her face says it all right there.
But when I started calling around about Chad, because he's in his 70s, he's now retired, but Chad runs the company, and I think they mostly just do construction now. I don't think they actually do engineering anymore. Chad's not a PE, he's a EIT.
Okay.
So,
It's not that complicated.
yeah,
It's already done. I just gotta build it.
yep, and it's not complicated. They got pretty good references, so they got the bid. We just sent off the notice of award about a week ago. We're just waiting for them to send back the signed contract and their performance and payment bonds and their insurance and all that stuff we put together before they start work. So.
What did
Hopefully
we
start-
decide is this the start date?
Well, we didn't really give them a start date. They'll just start whenever they get all our stuff to us and we have our pre-con. The end date is, I think, November 15th. That's the completion date. They have to have it done. We don't really tell them, we kind of let them start when they want to start, but they just have to be done when the deadline comes. And that's mostly because of paving on this one.
Cool.
That's really all on that one.
Okay, and I was often thought somewhere else. Did we have a start time on that? Did you say that and I missed it?
We kind of let them start when they want. They just have to be done by our deadline.
Okay.
November 15th, I think, is our deadline.
Okay, that was quick and easy. No questions on that. I did put other items on the discussion item for item number 7. Last meeting, we talked about the city taking over sewer maintenance. And you asked the committee to kind of bring some thoughts and recommendations to the next meeting. I don't know if we've had a chance to do that. Is there any more on that we need to talk about? What we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. The biggest thing is what type of cleaning schedule we get on. Is there anything we can do now to help out? Given the fact that Payson was supposed to do this in the contract, but there's been a lot of,
They don't want to do it.
whatever.
They don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, bottom line is they're not gonna do it. That doesn't stop it from needing to be done. So that's where we're at. And what is the best, the best approach to that? What we need is one more thing for a public works person, not personnel, person to do. So,
Yeah.
So just what I think, just get as quick as we can, if we can get, even if we can get an intern or somebody, maybe just lift the lids on everything and take some pictures of it.
We've got pictures of all of them.
We do have
manholes.
pictures.
So we did a inspection about a year ago. We hired a company to come in just before Corbett left. Came in and they did that sound testing on all the lines.
Right.
So they get in all the manholes, took pictures of all the manholes, they sounded all the pipes, and then they put all of that in a GIS and sent us to it.
So do we have, did that sounding give us indication of any low spots and high
It
spots?
just tells us if there's blockage or bad spots or stuff like
But it doesn't
that.
tell us what it is.
It doesn't tell us what it is. Our sewer came in overall excellent condition.
Imagine that, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Pretty steep grade everywhere.
There was one spot where there was blockage identified, and that's because it's in an unfinished road where the sewer's not used and the manhole's missing, manhole top's missing.
Sounds like
So it's
West
just
Loper
open.
Bay.
What's West Lofer? And
I
right now,
noticed that when I was walking.
Summit Creek just started work on West Lofer, so they're going to finish that road here in the next
So-
couple of months.
It sounds like.
Or
for
South
now,
Loper, we're
We're
calling
okay. And maybe another option if we haven't got any issues, maybe just do some, flushing. If we flush a hydrant, flush that into the sewer system rather than down the side of the road. We'd have to devise some sort of a check system, make sure we don't backflow into the system. And that's something we can design and build, like when I was with, the district down in Moab, we had a specially designed manhole that we could connect to the hydrant that had backflow protectors. So when we flushed the hydrant, it would flush into the sewer system, and we would let the plant know that, hey, there's going to be an influx of water. So we would do that. And that way we could actually flush the sewer system and the hydrants at the same time. It's just something as simple as that.
We'll just flush it in there. We're not that sophisticated. Get a little sewer in the water, just a little hair on your chest is all, right? It's
Okay,
no big
anyway,
deal. But no, so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, we'll just tell them we're just telling them we're pumping out of Maple Canyon. Smells the same. They
that
don't
was just
know.
a quick thought. But if
So
we're-
one thing to think about that, and I think the reason we brought this up is I think it's almost a done deal. We're going to be doing maintenance on it.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of there. I heard there was an agreement in works when I first started here. I don't know anything about it because I haven't any discussions with them. But I think my initial thought was when we kind of brought this up is if we take this maintenance over and what I'm thinking about doing, because we've got it all in GIS right now. We've got, I want to say it's 5 miles of sewer
Yeah.
line. That maybe we take like every year and just camera a mile of it and do that
5-year
over the course of
rotation,
5 years and
5-year
then start over again. So we just keep cameraing it and keep it inspected and then we know where.
That'd be perfect, just
Yeah.
to, but that was kind of be my next item. Started to do something right now to make sure that we know it's in good shape, but it sounds like we're already there. Or at least know what shape it's in, and then from there, develop a management plan that, like you just said, maybe one leg may not need it as often as another leg because of the flow or everything, but like that,
Yeah.
but try and get the entire system done. And we used to try and do it every 3 years, but if it's a 5-year rotation, that's probably good.
Yeah. Yeah. I might look into just if I remember to put that on the plate, maybe just have a company. There's a company that does this. It's Cammering. Can't think of their name right now, but I know them. Just talk to them and see what it costs to do a mile of pipe and just put it in the rotation, plan it in the budget every year. And
And the other things, you've got, some of the other cities have that equipment too, that maybe we can contract with them. I'm trying to think of the guys up in Layton, who you're talking about.
yeah,
They got the little canyon.
Yeah.
Mark and Dave. Anyway,
I'll think of it.
okay, that was just my thought on that. I've got nothing else. Oh, so the West Over contract, we got that covered too. Ion snowplow. I have really good news on the snowplow, guys. That's good to hear. I got no other than the sewer. Anything else anybody want to bring up? Next meeting. September is probably not a good one.
I will be actually out of town. Well, it's what, Labor Day first?
Yeah,
That's
first-
Memorial Day.
first,
Yeah, Labor Day, I'm sorry.
Labor
Labor
Day.
Day. So,
Yeah, it's really early.
yeah, Labor Day's never a good time to
Let's
do
go
it.
to October. There's enough information too that we keep saying is.
Yeah.
Rehashes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the
I'll
other
be gone the
thing-
following week, September, I'll be gone.
The other thing we need to look at is, well, we had discussed having a meeting with the finance committee to kind of talk over finances. That's part of the the policy that we have is to work with finance committee when we start looking into the next budget year. Maybe we ought to touch bases with those folks and say, hey, when's the time we can get together and maybe focus a meeting around that, maybe October, November. So for now, why don't we just hold off on the next meeting and then we'll kind of get some stuff together and maybe get out in the next 30 days?
The road management planning start, I mean, we want to start next year on following that road management. That's really a good thing to talk to finance
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
committee about, is starting to.
And it'll go out,
That ball rolling with what we've got.
it'll probably go out to bid this fall too, because you got to start getting these
Maybe
microservicing.
November's a better time.
I would say think about October, then maybe,
Right, that's what I'm saying. After, between Thanksgiving and New Year's, nothing. So,
For October though, I mean, so there'll be a council meeting in September. You think there's gonna be any follow-up after that, that they'll, help on immediately, or stuff that?
I guess we wait for that council meeting.
we always call a special
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
We just call a
we say
meeting if
if
need
not
be.
November.
So for right now, let's look for something in November. I'll go ahead and get, updates on when we want to do that. But so I think between now and November, we're probably good because like you said, we'll just be talking about, if Ted can be so kind as if he has any updates on the progress with the well and stuff like that, just email updates and we have questions, we can just, if for whatever reason a meeting needs to be called, or I don't see it, Ted's got this pretty good, we can always call one.
Yeah.
it's good. I think the next one will be just going through a lot of the data on the Maple Canyon well stuff.
So, I'm gonna go ahead and close the meeting at 7:45, 7:46.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Thanks.